Welcome to another video here by Howard Piano Industries. My name is Steve Howard, and I'm going to be showing you today how to fix a sticking jack, which is going to cause a sticking key. One of the main causes, and probably one of the most common reasons that I come across that have a sticking key, where is a jack that doesn't return correctly, and we're going to show you how to diagnose that, as well as how to fix the problem so that your key works right. Now here we've got a note. We're looking at F sharp 5 here, and just to identify the jack, it's this piece right here. Okay, and I'll show you a close-up of a Whippen with a jack out of the action here in a moment. But that's the piece right there, and and what happens sometimes is, as you push the key down, okay, as you can see, the top of this jack, it comes forward, okay, and as the note is played, okay, and what will happen is sometimes that jack won't reset underneath the hammer butt, which is this piece right here, okay, but sometimes it'll go down and you'll let the key go. I'm not letting the key go completely, just so I can simulate what happens, but if you let the key go and the jack doesn't return completely back underneath that hammer butt, the note won't be able to continue to play, so you'll be hitting it, and because the jack won't be completely under the butt, it won't push the hammer back up to play. So that causes what some would most consider a sticking key. Now, the first thing you want to do is check to make sure that you've got just a little bit of lost motion, which means you've got a little space between the top of that jack and the hammer butt when the note is at rest. Okay, so you should be able to wiggle it. I've got this a little bit too close, but if you wiggle that, or if you pull back on your hammer rest rail a little bit, you should see that hammer move just a slight amount. Okay, just a little movement of that hammer rest rail. If it comes back just a little bit, that means there was room for that hammer butt to move before it reached the top of that jack. So that's the first thing you want to check. If there's no lost motion, or if the jack is too high, you'll have to adjust the capstan under here, and we show in another video how to adjust that. But the main purpose of our video is to check the jack, okay? Because this is a real common problem. Is it's either going to be, if it is the jack, okay, and the other thing you want to check first is that the key is returning all the way, okay? Because if the key's not coming all the way back up or all the way back down in the back, then that's going to cause that problem too. But if we look here at a Whippen with a jack, okay, commonly the problem is that either your jack spring is not strong enough, which those get weak over time, and we show on another video how to replace those, but probably more commonly is that the pinning in this jack is too tight. There's what's called a center pin that goes through this hole, that goes through this piece is the flange, and then this is the jack right here. But that pin goes through the flange, which is lined with felt, and then it goes through the jack, and on the other side there's the other side of the flange with felt again. Okay, so what you want to check to see is if that pin is too tight in that hole, because what happens is that felt can swell, and this won't move freely enough, okay, which will make it so it doesn't have quite enough to return back underneath the hammer butt. So what you want to do to check that, you can disengage the spring and then check to see, there's not unless you're used to how much pressure there should be, it's hard to tell by hand, but if you move it like that, you can kind of tell if it's too tight. If it doesn't move very easily, then it's going to be too tight. But the more accurate way to check it is with a gram gauge, okay, which we sell these in our store as well. So you can set that up, turn the jack kind of sideways like this, so you don't have pressure or undue pressure from gravity. but then you can check your gram gauge. It should be if it's more than 6 or 7 grams, that means it's too tight. Okay, if we check this, where you can see it's about between 3 and 4. Okay, so it takes about 3 to 4 grams of pressure on the toe of the jack to move that jack. Okay, so that's pretty good. If it's too loose, obviously the part is gonna wobble, so we don't want that either. But we want it to move freely. Now, if that pinning, if you check the pressure on that and that's okay, then it's going to be your jack spring. To adjust this jack spring, what you can do is just pull up on it a little bit. You can either replace the jack spring, which is really the best option. If you want a quick fix, you can just pull up on the spring, stretch it out so it's got a little more tension to it. There is a possibility that the spring will break by doing that if it's an old, weak spring, but sometimes you can get that to work if you don't have a replacement spring to get your piano working. But if this pinning is too tight, and in most cases, I would say in majority of the cases, that's going to be the cause right there. If that pinning is too tight, then you're going to have to either lubricate it, which Protek CLP is the best option. If you're outside of the United States, it's a little bit difficult to acquire Protek CLP. We can't ship Protek products outside of the country because of the flammability factor. But that's the first thing you could try, and oftentimes that'll work to some degree. But if it's too tight or you don't have access to Protek CLP, you're going to have to repin the flange. Okay, we've got another video which I'll put a link up in front of you to go to that video so that you can see how to repin that so that it's the right tightness. And we use our flange bushing brooch kit, and of course you'd have to have some center pins to repin that to the correct size, as well as a micrometer to know what size center pin you've got, so you know what size you need to go to. So watch that video to show you how to fix that. But that's really the way that that you can do to diagnose where exactly the problem is, and what you can do to fix it. So if you have any other questions, feel free to visit our website. It's howardpianoindustries.com.